Chapter 1407. The Neo-Demons on Sky Burial Island were creatures from the Dark World. They would attack proactively when they encountered the South Horizon region, or the Dark World's prodigies. They had never heard of anyone being able to control Neo-Demons. But now, this scene had truly appeared in front of them. Hundreds and thousands of Neo-Demons swarmed toward the two forces. At this moment, even Chu Xuanjin, Dongfang Guangyao, and the others' faces darkened. Although these Neo-Demons might not be a fatal threat to them, they would consume their energy and delay them. Not to mention, the other South Horizon region's prodigies might not be able to survive the Neo-Demon horde. Yi Guchen, no matter what, we belong to the same camp. Are you trying to rebel? Dongfang Guangyao looked very cold, and said word by word. Don't you think it's ridiculous to say such things now? The Dongfang family's methods are even crueler than the Dark World's prodigies. Yi Guchen sneered. Naturally, he would not hesitate or sympathize with them. Yi Guchen, if word of this gets out, you'll be a sinner who betrayed the South Horizon region. Chu Xuanjin shouted coldly. Betray the South Horizon region? If going against your forces is considered betraying the South Horizon region, then consider me betraying the South Horizon region. Yi Guchen found it ridiculous. He did not delay any longer and commanded the Neo-Demons to surround and kill the prodigies from both sides. He signaled with his eyes, and Baimingxing, and Shimen Fugui both understood. They knew that Yi Guchen was going to take them directly into the ancient ruins. And these two forces had the Neo-Demon horde to delay them. Of course, the Neo-Demon horde could not delay them for too long. Besides Chu Xuanjin, Yi Tsongshan, and other top prodigies were there. It was only a matter of time before they finished dealing with the Neo-Demon horde. Yi Guchen wanted to use this time to explore the ancient ruins. Soon Yi Guchen and the other two turned into 3 streams of light and entered the ancient ruins. Yi Guchen, I'll kill you. Chu Xuanjin's entire body was bursting with sword qi, and his eyes were overflowing with cold light. The veins on Dongfang Guangyao's temples were bulging. He was furious. Not only had Yi Guchen slaughtered their Dongfang family's genius, he had even plotted against them. Nangong Juyun was so angry that his face turned green. That Yi Guchen is really good at scheming. Mu Nieqing let out a deep sigh as she watched the Neo-Demon horde surge towards her. This is the first time someone dares to scheme against me. Yi Tsongshan's expression was rather cold. Next, the two camps began to clash with the incoming Neo-Demon horde. Chu Xuanjin and the others would not be in any danger. However, the Heavenly Godsword sect, Dongfang family, and Nangong family suffered heavy losses. Many people had been killed by the Neo-Demons. This scene caused the faces of Chu Xuanjin and the others to turn cold. They wished they could hack Yi Guchen into pieces. At that moment, Yi Guchen led Baimingxing, and Shimen Fugui deep into the ancient era's remnants. The ancient era's remnants were surrounded by a thick gray mist. This mist could block one's divine soul perception. Yi Guchen and the others moved forward like blind men touching an elephant. What exactly is in the ancient era's remnants? Yi Guchen was curious. I don't know. It could be various inheritances from predecessors, or various precious medicines and sacred medicines, or something related to Burial Sky Island, Baimingxing said. Something related to Burial Sky Island? Yi Guchen was puzzled. I don't know if you have heard of this. Apart from the East, West, North, and South Islands, there is a rumor that there is a core island in Burial Sky Island, Baimingxing said mysteriously. Core Island. Yi Guchen raised his eyebrows. He had never heard of this before. Yes, rumor has it that the core island is the center of Burial Sky Island. It also hides the true secret of Burial Sky Island, Baimingxing said. The true secret? The more Yi Guchen listened, the more puzzled he became. Burial Sky Island used to be a forbidden land. And what was its secret? As for what the secret is, I don't know. But I heard that in order to make the core of Burial Sky Island appear, you need to gather all 4 mechanism keys. Only after all of them are gathered can the core of Burial Sky Island appear, Baimingxing said. I see. Yi Guchen nodded slightly. Then Yi Guchen suddenly thought of something. The Earth Sovereign Sword might be in Burial Sky Island. Obviously, it was impossible for the Earth Sovereign Sword to be in the East, West, North, and South Islands. If there was, it would have been discovered long ago. Then, the only possibility was that the Earth's sovereign sword should be in the core of Burial Sky Island. Yi Guchen thought of something again. Di Haotian seemed to have not targeted him because of some things. He only asked Chu Xuanjin to deal with him. Could it be that Di Haotian is sure that the Earth's sovereign sword is in the core of Burial Sky Island, so he went to look for the 4 mechanism keys? Yi Guchen's eyes lit up slightly. This guess was very likely to be true. Yi Guchen, did you think of something? Seeing Yi Guchen's expression, Bai Mingxing asked. No, let's go in and explore. Yi Guchen's eyes flashed secretly. It was not appropriate to tell them about the Earth's sovereign sword for the time being. Then Yi Guchen and the other 2 gradually went deeper into the ruins. There were many dilapidated palaces in the ruins. Yi Guchen and the others searched one by one, and found that there were only some decayed divine weapons. Don't tell me we didn't find anything? Bai Mingxing frowned, her face not looking good. At this moment, Shimen Fugui suddenly said in a low voice, "Look ahead." Yi Guchen and the others looked over, and found that there seemed to be a faint brilliance flashing in a dilapidated palace in front of them. Is there a treasure? Bai Mingxing's face lit up, and she turned to look at Shimen Fugui. Fatty, is it really because of your luck? Bai Mingxing was a little doubtful. Destiny, this thing, was really somewhat unpredictable. Of course. With me, there's no need to worry about finding treasures, Shimen Fugui said proudly. Alright, don't talk too much. The group of neo-demons won't be able to stop them for long. We need to go deeper quickly, Yi Guchen warned. They entered the dilapidated palace. Among them, there were some colorful jades stacked on top of each other. That's Silver Moon Jade, Purple Flame Divine Jade, and Void Spiritual Jade. Gosh, there's too much. Bai Mingxing couldn't help but exclaim. The essence contained in these jade stones had a significant effect on divine weapons. If some supreme-grade divine weapons with mystical patterns were infused with the essence of these jade stones, they could even be upgraded. At this moment, Yi Guchen suddenly felt a faint desire from his dantian. It's the Sword of Seeking Defeat. Yi Guchen's eyes flashed. The Sword of Seeking Defeat actually felt a desire. Obviously, it wanted to devour these rare jade stones. Yi Guchen didn't hesitate and went forward to collect them. At this moment, there was a hair-raising hissing sound coming from all directions. What is that? Bai Mingxing and Shimen Fugui's hair stood on end. Chapter 1408. A hair-raising hissing sound came from the ruins around the palace. Shimen Fugui and Bai Mingxing felt their hearts palpitate. Yi Guchen looked around and saw a swarm of pitch-black bugs surrounding them. Ah, what's that? Goosebumps appeared on Bai Mingxing's snow-white skin. For women, insects were always a frightening creature. It's a creature from the dark world, the black godly bug. Yi Guchen's expression didn't change much. The black godly bug was the same as neo-demons and demon gods. They were all inferior races of the dark world. However, the black godly bug won by numbers. They could devour everything, even true qi. That was why the black godly bug was so terrifying. Cultivators' true qi shields, armors and other defensive measures were useless against the black godly bug. The black godly bug's hard exoskeleton was also immune to most true qi attacks. That was why the black godly bug was even more difficult to deal with than neo-demons. What should we do? Bai Mingxing attacked a few times but couldn't do any effective damage to the black godly bug. What are bugs usually afraid of? Yi Guchen's expression darkened. Bai Mingxing and Shimen Fugui looked at each other. It's fire. Yi Guchen smiled faintly and raised his hand. The multicolored chaotic divine flame surged out and spread in all directions in a ring shape. The black god bugs began to explode the moment they came into contact with the primal chaos divine flame. This is divine flame? Feeling the heat of the chaos divine flame, Bai Mingxing's face froze. This was a divine flame, not a natural flame. Hee, you've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Shimen Fugui chuckled. Yi Guchen didn't have the strength, and Shimen Fugui wouldn't choose to ride on his coattails. The chaos divine flame circled around, protecting Yi Guchen and the other 2. When the black divine bugs sensed the terrifying temperature of the primal chaos divine flame, Fear appeared on their faces. Like a black tide, they retreated and disappeared into the darkness. Seeing that the black god bugs had completely disappeared, Bai Mingxinger let out a sigh of relief. She turned to look at the jade stones, her eyes shining brightly. Next, we can divide up these jades. Bai Mingxing was like a greedy little money grubber. Brother Yi put in the most effort. He was also the one who drove the black god bugs away. Brother Yi should take the biggest share. Shimin Fugui took the initiative to say. Bai Mingxing also nodded slightly. She was not an unreasonable person. Yi Guchen didn't stand on ceremony and said, I do need these jades. If I find something suitable for you in the future, you can take it. Yi Guchen did not reject their good intentions because these jade stones were needed by the sword of begging defeat. 70% of the jade was taken by Yi Guchen, and the remaining 30% was divided between Shimin Fugui and Bai Mingxing. After taking the jade stones, Yi Guchen did not immediately take out the sword of begging defeat, because now was not a good time to digest them. The group of neo-demons outside could not stop Chu Xuanjin and the others for long. Let's continue, Yi Guchen said. The three of them explored a few more palaces. In one of the palaces, they found a godly silkworm robe placed in a box. The entire robe was woven with godly silkworm robe. It was exquisite and beautiful, as if it was flowing with radiance. Moreover, not only was the godly silkworm robe dazzling in appearance, but its defensive power was also very strong. When worn, it was as light as a feather. Bai Mingxing's eyes sparkled. You can have this godly silkworm robe, Yi Guchen said. Really? Bai Mingxing was pleasantly surprised. Although she asked that, she had already taken the godly silkworm robe in her hand. After that, Yi Guchen helped Shimin Fugui find a suitable opportunity for him. The three of them had each gained something. It was a worthwhile trip. Are these the only things in the entire ancient ruins? Yi Guchen pondered. It was not that he was greedy or anything. It was just that the ancient ruins should not only have these opportunities. It seems that we should continue to go deeper, Yi Guchen thought. Next, they went completely deep into the ancient ruins. In a mountain range, they found a simple and heavy black iron door. It was embedded in the mountain and had an ancient aura. It seems that the greatest opportunity in the ancient ruins should be behind this iron door, Shimin Fugui said. He was born with great luck. Vaguely, he had some kind of intuition and perception. Yi Guchen flipped his wrist and the 9-dragon thunder prison fell into his hand. He slashed his sword across the sky. The sword light bombarded the iron door, and the entire mountain seemed to tremble. After a few slashes, the iron door opened with a bang. It was pitch black and filled with gray fog and dust. Everyone be careful. Yi Guchen was the first to enter. Bai Mingxing and Shimin Fugui followed closely behind. Behind the iron door was a dilapidated ancient palace. In the depths of the darkness, the hissing of black divine bugs could be heard. Yi Guchen activated the chaos divine flame, and the black divine bugs instantly retreated. In front of the palace, there was a cracked stone platform. On the stone platform, there was a simple and unadorned black box. What is that? Bai Mingxing was curious. Yi Guchen's eyes narrowed. He vaguely sensed that this black box was definitely not simple. Just as Yi Guchen was about to step forward, a loud hissing sound rang out. Black divine bugs again? Shimin Fugui's heart trembled. No. Yi Guchen's heart skipped a beat. Behind the cracked stone platform, 9 shadows suddenly appeared. That is. Shimin Fugui's eyes widened. Under the illumination of the chaos divine flame, Yi Guchen and the other two saw it. It was a black divine bug with 9 heads. Its body was extremely large, more than 100 feet long. Its body was branded with strange dark purple demonic runes, and its aura was far stronger than ordinary black divine bugs. It's the 9-headed divine bug king, Shimin Fugui exclaimed. The 9-headed divine bug king was the king of black divine bugs. Its status was equivalent to that of a neo-demon king. However, the 9-headed divine bug king in front of them clearly looked stronger and harder to deal with than a neo-demon king. This 9-headed divine bug king doesn't seem to be afraid of fire. Yi Guchen noticed. The chaos divine flame could only make the 9-headed divine bug king wary, but it couldn't truly make it afraid. Let's attack together. Shimenfugue was about to attack as well. He took out all sorts of treasures. Disgusting bug. Baimingxing had goosebumps all over her body. She endured the numbness on her scalp and attacked as well. The three of them attacked together, wanting to kill the nine-headed divine bug king. At the same time, around the primordial ruins, several figures broke through the gray mist and charged in. They were Chu Xuanjin, Dongfang Guangyao, Dongfang Ziyun, Nangong Juiyun, and the others. There were bloodstains on their bodies, and their auras were very unstable. Damn it, all of our subordinates are dead. It's all Yi Guqin's fault. This time, I won't let him walk out of the primordial ruins. The three princes' eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Chapter 1409. Inside the dilapidated ancient palace, Yi Guqin and the other two had solemn expressions as they faced the nine-headed divine bug king that was filled with a fiendish aura. The nine-headed divine bug king's aura had likely reached the sovereign stage, and it wasn't something that ordinary divine-dwelling stage heaven prides could contend against. Fortunately, Yi Guqin's combat power was not something that he could compete with at his current level. In addition, Baimingxing, and Shimenfugue were assisting from the side. It wasn't impossible for them to deal with the nine-headed divine bug king. The nine-headed divine bug king's 9 heads were incomparably sinister, and its pitch-black eyes were filled with a bloodthirsty aura as they stared at Yi Guqin and the other two. Then it attacked. Although its body was huge, it was very agile, and its 9 heads bit towards Yi Guqin and the other two. Yi Guqin used the divine movement secret art, and his figure instantly turned into a bolt of lightning as he flashed to the side to avoid the 9-headed divine bug king's bite. Baimingxing also used her identity as a member of the Baiming clan, and her figure nimbly flashed away like a fish. The Baiming clan was known for their movement techniques, and Baimingxing had cultivated them to the pinnacle. Other than Yi Guqin, who possessed the divine movement secret art, it wouldn't be easy for the other 10 great Gongzi-level figures to catch up to her footsteps. As for Shimenfugue, he summoned a pair of small golden wings. The wings extended from his back. They were very small and didn't match his fat and wide body, making him look rather comical. But with a flap of the wings, Shimenfugue's figure turned into a beam of golden light and flashed to the side. Attack! Yi Guqin roared. The 9-headed divine bug king wouldn't be too far away from the stone platform. Therefore, it was almost impossible for Yi Guqin to lure the 9-headed divine bug king away and obtain the pitch-black box. Only by completely killing the 9-headed divine bug king would they be able to obtain the box. Yi Guqin flipped the 9-dragon lightning prison in his hands and summoned the Qianyang Absolute Sword and the Kuan-Yu Absolute Sword. The two forms merged into the Qian Kuan Annihilation Sword and swept towards the 9-headed divine bug king. Clang! The sharp sword light landed on the 9-headed divine bug king's carapace, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Dazzling sparks shot out, and only a faint white mark was left on the carapace. This beast's defense is actually so strong. Shimenfugue was also surprised when he saw this scene. The power of Yi Guqin's sword was already extremely terrifying in his eyes. He did not expect it to be unable to deal much damage to the 9-headed divine bug king. Netherthorn. Baimingxing also made her move. She drew out a divine weapon that looked like a flying shuttle. It was about the size of a palm, and its entire body was dark purple. There were even sharp serrated edges on its edges. It looked extremely powerful. Of course, this was also a heavenly tribulation weapon. The flying divine weapon pierced through the air and landed on one of the heads of the 9-headed divine bug king. Pucci. The flying shuttle pierced through the shell of the 9-headed divine bug king, but it was unable to cause any substantial damage to the bug king, because compared to the huge body of the 9-headed divine bug king, the flying shuttle's destructive power was limited. Yi Guqin made his move again. This time, he even used the star-breaking sword. The 3 swords combined to form a sword that could destroy the heavens and earth. Moon-falling star-sinking Vastyang break. Boom. This attack finally forced the 9-headed divine bug king's body back. One of its heads was almost chopped off in half, and pitch-black blood gushed out. Hiss. The 9-headed divine bug king seemed to have gone mad from the pain. Its 9 heads spat out black water, poisonous gas, raging flames, acid, and other means at the same time. Yi Guchen drew out the immovable ancient god king armor. The black water, acid, and other things splashed forward, making sizzling sounds and emitting white smoke. Bai Mingxing dodged with her movement skill. As for Shimen Fugue, he heroically put on 3 sets of heavy armor on his body. Additionally, he also released several protective light shields. Cut off all 9 of its heads. Yi Guchen shouted coldly. Then he waved his hand. 9-colored profound lightning surged out from his body, supporting the godly sword lightning controlling arts god annihilation heavenly punishment. The peerless lightning sword principal domain, heaven's punishment thunder prison, was also drawn out. The various methods stacked on top of one another, as if the entire hall had turned into a ferocious field of lightning. Kill. Yi Guchen drew out his sword, and sword radiance spread out along with lightning. Rumble. Even though the 9-headed divine bug king had a certain degree of resistance against fire and lightning, it was still unable to withstand Yi Guchen's fierce attack. 2 heads were directly blasted apart. Bai Mingxing was not to be outdone, and she drew out her ultimate move again. The flying shuttle suddenly split into 9 and pierced through one of the heads, turning it into a sieve. Shimen Fugue gritted his teeth and drew out a few divine talismans. The divine talismans fell on the 9-headed divine bug king's head and exploded. The violent energy wave blew one of the heads into pieces. The 9-headed divine bug king screeched at the sky, going completely mad and going berserk. Its remaining 5 heads locked onto Bai Mingxing and bit at her at the same time. Seeing this, Bai Mingxing panicked. She wanted to use her movement skill to escape. But she realized that the 9-headed divine bug king's 5 heads had already sealed off all her escape routes. Bai Mingxing's face turned pale. At this moment, Yi Guchen drew out his ultimate move again. He drew out the will of man and sword, augmenting it with the 1,000 deities tribulation sword technique. A pair of wings made of swords extended from his back, and his figure left behind an afterimage. With lightning speed, he rushed into the dangerous battle situation. He held Bai Mingxing's slender waist with one hand, and held the 9-dragon thunder prison with the other. He used the first move of the 1,000 deities tribulation, destruction of heaven and earth. With a slash of the sword, 2 heads exploded again. Bai Mingxing's face was still pale. When she came back to her senses, she realized that Yi Guchen was hugging her waist. Her face turned red, and she broke free without a trace. Yi Guchen did not mind. His attention was all on the 9-headed divine bug king. Not far away, Shimen Fugue saw this scene, and his eyes were filled with envy. Brother Ye's luck with women is really good. If I had Brother Ye's looks, I wouldn't still be a single dog now. Shimen Fugue sighed. He was sure that if he had replaced Yi Guchen and hugged Bai Mingxing, just now, Bai Mingxing, would have slapped him in the face a long time ago. In the end, when it was Yi Guchen, Bai Mingxing's face only turned red, and she did not say anything. On the other side, Yi Guchen's expression was calm. He drew out the Chaos Divine Flame, augmenting it with the broken sword style of the Dugu 9 swords. With a slash of the sword, he directly pierced through the last 3 heads of the 9-headed divine bug king. Rumble. The 9-headed divine bug king's huge body fell down directly. Isn't that too strong? Bai Mingxing's mouth opened slightly, and she exclaimed in her heart. Thinking about how Yi Guchen had casually saved her just now, her face turned red again. Yi Guchen walked up to the stone platform and picked up the pitch-black box. He was very curious. What was inside the pitch-black box? Chapter 14:10. The most important thing in the entire primordial ruins should be this pitch-black box. After all, it was guarded by the 9-headed divine bug king. Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugue also came over curiously. Yi Guchen opened the box and found a pitch-black key lying inside. The key was simple and mottled, without any special fluctuations. It looked like a key made of ordinary iron. What's this? Shimen Fugue blinked his beady eyes. Yi Guchen picked up the key and didn't feel any special fluctuations. Could this be? Yi Guchen suddenly thought of something. Bai Mingxing also had a flash of inspiration. The two looked at each other and understood each other's thoughts. This is the mechanism key? Yi Guqin and Bai Mingxing said almost at the same time. This is the mechanism key? Shimen Fugui was also surprised. Previously Bai Mingxing had said that there was actually a core island in the entire Sky Burial Island that had never appeared. They needed to collect 4 mechanism keys to successfully open it. They never thought that the mechanism key would appear in front of them now. This mechanism key is very important. It's related to the appearance of the core island in the future. Bai Mingxing said solemnly. The core island should be the most important opportunity of Sky Burial Island. It had never appeared before. Yi Guqin nodded with certainty. He also knew that the Earth Sovereign Sword was very likely on the core island. And Di Haotian was doing his best to find the 4 mechanism keys. Therefore, Di Haotian couldn't get the mechanism key. If Di Haotian took the initiative and obtained the Earth Sovereign Sword, he could combine the 3 swords. Su Jianshir's situation would undoubtedly become dangerous. Yi Guqin, you're the strongest among the 3 of us. You should keep the mechanism key, Bai Mingxing said. Yi Guqin nodded slightly. There was no need to be polite. After all, if Sky Burial Island appeared in the future, he wouldn't be the only one entering. However, just as Yi Guqin put away the mechanism key, suddenly, there was a commotion outside the palace. A bone-chilling voice rang out. Yi Guqin, where do you think you can escape to this time? Hearing this voice, Bai Mingxing and Shimen Fugui's expressions changed. Yi Guqin's expression was calm as he looked outside the hall. 4 figures appeared at the same time. They were Chu Xuanjin, Nangong Jiuyun, Dongfang Guangyao and Dongfang Ziyun. Although the 4 of them had broken through the encirclement of the Neo-Demon Horde, they still had some wounds on their bodies, making them look rather miserable. As for the other South Horizon region geniuses, they had all perished at the hands of the Neo-Demons. Most importantly, those Nantian region geniuses were mostly from the Heavenly Godsword sect, the Nangong family and the Dongfang family. Therefore, this meant that Yi Guqin had indirectly killed the young heaven's favorites of the 3 forces, causing them to suffer great losses. What did you all obtain? Chu Xuanjin's gaze landed on the stone platform. On top of it was an open black box. The mechanism key had already been taken by Yi Guqin, so they naturally did not know. What does it have to do with you what we obtained? Bai Mingxing asked. It doesn't matter. Just kill them and plunder their origin rings. Dongfang Guangyao's tone was extremely cold. There was no need to explain how much he wanted to kill Yi Guqin. The Dongfang family and the Baiming family were also on opposing sides, so he also wanted to kill Bai Mingxing. You. Bai Mingxing bit her lip, her beautiful eyes were also cold. The 2 families could be said to be like fire and water. Bai Mingxing, when the time comes, the 3 of us will split up and leave. If we can escape, we will meet outside the antiquity ruins. Yi Guqin secretly transmitted his voice. Right now, if they continued to be entangled here, they might even attract the attention of the Dark World's geniuses. By then, the situation would be even more complicated. Naturally, the fact that Yi Guqin had obtained the mechanism key could not be leaked. Therefore, Yi Guqin wanted to get rid of Chu Xuanjin and the others as soon as possible. This was the only way. Alright then. You have to be careful too. They might target you. Bai Mingxing's tone was a little worried. Yi Guqin was obviously the one who attracted the most hatred. No, they can't be sure which one of us has obtained the treasure. So when the time comes, there is a great possibility that they will split up to deal with us. That is also our chance. We might even be able to kill them. A cold light flashed in Yi Guqin's eyes. He had already calculated this point, and even planned the opposite. This was the strategy of splitting up. First split up the enemy, then kill them one by one. Anyway, these 3 young masters would not rest until Yi Guqin was dead. If that was the case, wouldn't it be better to kill 1 or 2 of them first? Then Yi Guqin and the other 2 rushed in different directions of the main hall without hesitation. Trying to run? Chu Xuanjin raised his eyebrows. Nangong Jiuyun and Dongfang Guangyao also locked their eyes on Yi Guqin with murderous intent. At this moment, Chu Xuanjin seemed to have thought of something and said, "Don't worry. This might be Yi Guqin's trick. The treasure in the box might be in the hands of Bai Mingxing, Shimen Fugue. Then, Yi Guchen lured us to chase after him and missed the big fish. Hearing Chu Xuanzhen's words, Dongfang Guangyao and Nangong Juyin both nodded secretly. Chu Xuanzhen's analysis was reasonable. That's right. Yi Guchen is an extremely cunning person. His scheming is not inferior to his strength, Nangong Juyin said coldly. Then let me go after Yi Guchen. After all, he has just killed the genius of the Dongfang family. If I don't kill him personally, the Dongfang family will lose face. Dongfang Guangyao said. Nangong Juyin and Chu Xuanzhen both had a trace of pity and unwillingness in their eyes. In fact, they also wanted to kill Yi Guchen with their own hands. But now was not the time to be conflicted. All right then. With your strength, it's enough to deal with Yi Guchen. Let's go after the other two. Chu Xuanzhen nodded slightly. Dongfang Guangyao was also a powerful and experienced young master. He had a light physique, and there was a solar vision in his dantian. Even if Chu Xuanzhen fought against Dongfang Guangyao, he would not have much of an advantage. Chu Xuanzhen was confident that he could deal with Yi Guchen. I'll go too. Dongfang Ziyun said. She would not be at ease if she did not witness Yi Guchen's death with her own eyes. All right. With your help, Yi Guchen has nowhere to run. Dongfang Guangyao smiled faintly. Then Dongfang Guangyao and Dongfang Ziyun chased after Yi Guchen. Chu Xuanzhen went after Baimingxing. Nangong Juyin went after Shimen Fugue. Not long after they left, a voice rang out. An azure-robed young master appeared in a flash. It was Mu Niqing. There seems to be some remnant aura here. Mu Niqing frowned. He turned to look in the direction where Yi Guchen and Dongfang Guangyao left. After thinking for a while, he turned into a shadow and flew over. Chapter 1411. Outside the ancient ruins, Yi Guchen's figure turned into a blur as lightning flashed beneath his feet. Although his divine movement secret technique was only at the first level, chasing lightning, his speed was already faster than some emperor-level movement techniques. However, Yi Guchen did not fully activate the divine movement secret technique. He seemed to be deliberately slowing down. Not long after, the sound of wind breaking could be heard from behind. It was Dongfang Guangyao and Dongfang Ziyun who had caught up. When they saw Yi Guchen's back, they heaved a sigh of relief. At least they did not embarrass themselves. Yi Guchen, there's no need to run anymore. Because even if you run, you won't be able to escape from me. Dongfang Guangyao's tone was calm as if he had already seen Yi Guchen as a turtle in a jar. Dongfang Ziyun's face also turned cold. Yi Guchen was like a thorn in her throat. If she did not get rid of him, she would feel like a fish bone was stuck in her throat. Who is the turtle in the jar? Yi Guchen held the 9-dragon thunder prison in his hand as killing intent flashed across his eyes. He did not have a good impression of anyone from the Dongfang family. He wanted to kill them all. Dongfang Guangyao's face also showed a trace of surprise. He then said, "You're deliberately slowing down so that we can catch up to you? What do you think?" Yi Guchen's tone was cold and playful. Good. Interesting. This is the first time someone has dared to treat me as a prey. Yi Guchen, I have to say you've made me even angrier. Dongfang Guangyao's eyes seemed to be shooting out a dazzling golden light. Who was he? The top genius of the Dongfang family. He had the light physique and the glorious sun vision. He was also one of the 10 great young masters, young master Tongtian. Among the younger generation of the South Sky region, who could treat him as a prey? Who was qualified to treat him as a prey? Yi Guchen, your words are too laughable. Could it be that you feel like you have nowhere else to go? So you want to risk your life to fight? Dongfang Ziyun sneered. Don't worry, you'll go accompany Dongfang Sangming soon. Yi Guchen's face was indifferent. You're courting death. Seeing this, Dongfang Guangyao no longer hesitated and made his move. Although he had heard a lot of rumors about Yi Guchen. However, Dongfang Guangyao was still confident in himself. This came from his own powerful strength. Only strength could bring about confidence. Dongfang Guangyao activated his divine dwelling true qi. His true energy was reddish-golden color, like the blazing divine light of the sun. At the same time, his cultivation was also exposed. He had reached the 8th layer of the divine dwelling realm. He was only one step away from the 4 emperors' heaven prides of the 9th layer of the divine dwelling realm. Coupled with his unique scarlet gold true chi, he was actually not much different from a 9th layer divine dwelling heaven paragon. Vast young palm. Dongfang Guangyao raised his hand and left. His entire palm was dyed golden, as if it had turned into a golden hand. He blasted out with his palm, and a huge golden palm print appeared. Even the palm lines on it could be seen clearly, and the fluctuations were extremely powerful. This is Brother Guangyao's true strength. Dongfang Ziyun was a little dumbfounded. Her expression was full of admiration and admiration. Dongfang Guangyao rarely made a move, and there were not many people who were qualified to make him do so. Therefore, Dongfang Ziyun had never been clear about how strong Dongfang Guangyao was. But now Dongfang Guangyao had directly suppressed Dongfang Ziyun. His strength was far beyond Dongfang Ziyun's estimation. Great, Dongfang Guangyao's strength is enough to kill Yi Guqin. Dongfang Ziyun was secretly delighted. On the other side, feeling the fluctuations of Dongfang Guangyao's strength, Yi Guqin's expression turned slightly solemn. He would never make a low-level mistake like underestimating his opponent. Not to mention a powerful opponent like Dongfang Guangyao. Yi Guqin directly used universe annihilation. The fierce sword gathered the power of heaven and earth and collided with Dongfang Guangyao's golden palm print. Rumble. The surroundings shook violently. The powerful force seemed to have dispersed quite a bit of the surrounding gray fog. The two figures retreated at the same time. Dongfang Guangyao's dazzling golden eyes revealed a hint of bewilderment. Although Yi Guqin's cultivation level was only at the 7th level of the divine dwelling, the density of Yi Guqin's true qi surpassed his. It should be said that Dongfang Guangyao's Dantian had the glorious sun anomaly, so his true qi was not ordinary, but the rare reddish gold sun true qi. But even so, he was still suppressed by Yi Guqin in terms of true qi. Dongfang Guangyao naturally did not know that Yi Guqin's divine dwelling had undergone 3 transformations. Its quality had far surpassed that of ordinary divine dwellings. Even some special divine dwellings were not as good as Yi Guqin's divine dwelling in terms of quality, because Yi Guqin's divine dwelling had already formed the embryonic form of a world. As long as he passed the last tribulation, his divine dwelling would become the highest grade world divine dwelling. It was also because of this that Yi Guqin was able to suppress Dongfang Guangyao in terms of true qi. Your divine dwelling is indeed a little strange, but so what? Dongfang Guangyao snorted coldly. The divine dwelling's true qi was only a part of one's strength. Yi Guqin's true qi was only slightly denser, but Dongfang Guangyao did not fear him in the slightest. He made his move again. Blazing sun true qi hovered and rose in his palm. Then Dongfang Guangyao blasted out a palm. The sun true qi turned into a gushing golden light beam, piercing towards Yi Guqin. Yi Guqin poured the 9-colored profound lightning into the 9-dragon thunder prison, and displayed the divine sword lightning controlling art. With a slash of the sword, the blazing lightning directly split the golden light beam. Seeing this, Dongfang Guangyao raised his hand to the sky, and vast and turbulent sun true qi gushed out, as if rolling up the vault of heaven. Pure yang piercing the 9 heavens. Dongfang Guangyao struck out again. Thousands of blazing golden rays burst out, as if wanting to connect heaven and earth, and swept towards Yi Guqin. The strength of this move made Yi Guqin raise his eyebrows slightly. He also raised his sword, and activated the power of heaven and earth. Divine sword lightning controlling art, heavenly thunder summoning. In an instant, the clouds in the 9 heavens gathered, and lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The violent lightning struck down, pouring into the 9-dragon thunder prison. His sword light swept out, accompanied by a terrifying lightning beam that pierced through the heavens and earth. The explosive power of the two sides intertwined and collided, bursting out dazzling flames and divine light. This terrifying collision caused Dongfang Ziyun to take a deep breath. She looked at Yi Guqin with some astonishment and shock. The young man who was forced into a corner in the Tianhuang Plains had grown to such a terrifying level. This made Dongfang Ziyun somewhat unable to believe. When the two collided, Yi Guqin groaned in the chest, and retreated dozens of steps. Dongfang Guangyao was also forced back, and there were scorch marks on his arm. His eyes were gloomy, as he did not expect Yi Guchen to be so difficult to deal with. I still underestimated you. But the battle is about to end. Dongfang Guangyao raised his hands and grabbed towards the void. Two wheel-shaped divine weapons appeared in his hands. The jagged edges were like the blazing flames released by the sun, jagged and uneven. This was Dongfang Guangyao's divine weapon of tribulation, the Golden Sun Wheel. Chapter 14:12. Generally speaking, Dongfang Guangyao wouldn't use his divine weapon when facing an enemy, because not many people were qualified to make him use his divine weapon. But now, facing Yi Guchen, Dongfang Guangyao had no choice but to use his divine weapon. He held the Sun Golden Wheel with both hands, and his aura skyrocketed again. This Sun Golden Wheel was very compatible with his physique, so it could allow him to unleash his strength to the maximum. Dongfang Guangyao threw the Sun Golden Wheel with both hands. The sharp golden wheel cut through the void, bringing with it a reddish gold flowing light, and bombarded Yi Guchen. Yi Guchen's 9-dragon thunder prison collided with the Sun Golden Wheel, bursting out violent sparks. The two Sun Golden Wheels, as if controlled by Dongfang Guangyao, kept circling Yi Guchen, looking for an opening to attack. Yi Guchen's sword was impenetrable, blocking the two Sun Golden Wheels. At this time, Dongfang Guangyao attacked again. He raised his hand, and the terrifying Sun True Qi gathered in his palm, and finally turned into a blazing flame, like a small sun. And with the infusion of Dongfang Guangyao's True Qi, the small sun became bigger and bigger, and finally became bigger than Dongfang Guangyao. At this moment, Dongfang Guangyao seemed to be holding a huge sun, and the terrifying fluctuations contained in it made Dongfang Ziyan tremble with fear. Saint Sun Technique. Dongfang Guangyao threw out the blazing sun with one hand. Layers of ripples appeared in the void, and waves of scorching True Qi spread out, emitting shocking fluctuations. Seeing Dongfang Guangyao's ultimate move coming at him, Yi Guchen defended against the Sun Golden Wheel's attack, and counterattacked at the same time. He successively used the Qianyang Absolute Sword, the Kuan Moon Absolute Sword, and the Star-Shattering Absolute Sword. The three swords combined into a terrifying sword move. Moon-falling star-sinking vast yang break. The huge sword light pierced through the sun, like Ho Yi's arrow shooting through the sun. In an instant, the collision erupted, and the whole sun exploded. The violent True Qi aftershock, accompanied by the biting cold sword Qi, swept out in all directions. The surrounding gray fog was scattered, and this violent shock wave also impacted Dongfang Guangyao and Yi Guchen. The two of them immediately retreated, the blood in their chests churning. The two golden sun wheels were also sent flying. Dongfang Guangyao seized the opportunity, took the Sun Golden Wheel, and then rushed towards Yi Guchen. He slashed out with the Sun Golden Wheel, while Yi Guchen also counterattacked with his sword. Their movements were so fast that one could not even see their figures clearly. One could only see their afterimages and the sparks from the collision of their divine weapons. Dongfang Ziyan was a little dazed. She didn't expect that Yi Guchen could fight with Dongfang Guangyao to this extent. Originally, she thought that even if Yi Guchen's strength was different from the past, he would still be able to defeat Dongfang Guangyao. But now, the situation was completely different from what she had imagined. Not only was Yi Guchen not weaker than Dongfang Guangyao, but he also seemed to have the upper hand. Damn it! Dongfang Guangyao's face was extremely gloomy. This was different from the battle he had imagined. In his imagination, he should be able to annihilate Yi Guchen with an unstoppable force, and not fall into a precarious situation like he was now. Li Firewheel Technique. Dongfang Guangyao used his move again. Two Sun Golden Wheels flew out, exuding blazingly fire. Trying to show off your flame in front of me? You're just showing off your slight skill before an expert. Yi Guchen wiped the 9-dragon thunder prison in his hand. On the 9-dragon thunder prison, flames burned inch by inch. As soon as the 5-colored, chaotic flame appeared, the temperature of the whole area began to rise rapidly. That flame is a divine flame. Feeling the terrifying temperature, Dongfang Guangyao's face suddenly changed. His Li Fire of the Sun was like a little brother in front of the divine flame of the chaos. The two Sun Golden Wheels were knocked away by Yi Guchen's sword. He charged towards Dongfang Guangyao again. Divine Light Technique. Dongfang Guangyao used his move again. Blazing and scorching divine light burst out. And wherever it shone, the earth turned into scorched earth. The Saint Sun technique and divine light technique were both Dongfang Guangyao's signature martial arts, and they were extremely powerful. Seeing this, Yi Guqin used the Baji reincarnation sword technique, the extreme of water. The dark blue runes of the Qin trigram appeared in the void. Yi Guqin directly used the 9-dragon thunder prison to break the rune. Then the mighty sword qi surged out like a wave. Not only that, Yi Guqin also used the Xianyuan heavy water. Under the combination of the two, the power of the sword move was even more powerful. And it just so happened to restrain Dongfang Guangyao's divine light technique. Rumble. The two completely different elemental moves collided and set off waves. Dongfang Ziyan was even sent flying by the shock wave. Puchi. The Xianyuan heavy water pierced through, and each drop could crush a mountain. Although Dongfang Guangyao hurriedly recalled the sun golden wheels to block, he was still sent flying by the terrifying impact and spat out a small mouthful of blood. As for Yi Guqin, his physique was far stronger than Dongfang Guangyao's, so he didn't suffer any serious injuries. How is this possible? Dongfang Guangyao wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said in disbelief. He was actually injured by Yi Guqin and was at a disadvantage. After all, he was one of the top 10 young masters, and no one had been able to shake his position. Dongfang Guangyao's strength was even enough to spar with the 4 emperors. But now he was actually injured by Yi Guqin. This was something he couldn't imagine. Then, Dongfang Guangyao was completely enraged. He couldn't accept this humiliation. Yi Guqin, it seems that you are also lucky to see my true strength. Dongfang Guangyao's tone was cold. In the next moment, the surface of his body suddenly emitted light. Golden patterns emerged from the surface of his skin. Behind his head, a vertical light wheel appeared, releasing an endless aura of light. At this moment, Dongfang Guangyao was like the sun of light, illuminating all living beings. Brother Guangyao activated the light physique. Not far away, Dongfang Ziyan's expression was also filled with surprise. It should be said that Dongfang Guangyao rarely activated his physique when fighting because he felt that it was unnecessary. But now, facing Yi Guqin, Dongfang Guangyao really used his true strength. As Dongfang Guangyao activated the light physique, his aura rose again and soon reached the peak of the 9th layer of the divine dwelling. Yi Guqin, are you ready to die? Dongfang Guangyao's tone was cold. His golden eyes seemed to be filled with light, and from a distance, it seemed that his eyes were a dazzling divine light. Oh, you think too highly of yourself. Yi Guqin held the 9-dragon thunder prison. The tip of the sword slanted to the ground. His expression was calm and indifferent. It wasn't like Yi Guqin hadn't killed someone with a special physique. How could a mere light physique stump him? Chapter 14-13. At this moment, Dongfang Guangyao was like the incarnation of the sun's sun. The light wheel behind his head released a scorching divine splendor, and his aura was extremely powerful. When he fought with others, he rarely used the light physique because there was no need to. But now, facing a difficult opponent like Yi Guqin, he had no choice but to use his full strength. Great, Brother Guangyao has even brought out the light physique. Yi Guqin is dead for sure. Dongfang Ziyan was excited and pleased. She couldn't be at ease as long as Yi Guqin was alive. Dongfang Sangming was a lesson for her. However, facing Dongfang Guangyao, who was like the sun's son, Yi Guqin's expression was extremely calm. He also activated the ancient god tactic, and his body grew to 9 feet. Ancient light runes covered his body. 2 ancient god stars also appeared between his eyebrows. Yi Guqin had brought out the ancient god form. In terms of strength, the ancient god form was no weaker than the various special physiques. After all, it was the core inheritance of the ancient god clan, one of the 100 clans in the heavens. How could its power be weak? Now let's try again. Yi Guqin swept out his sword. Supported by the power of the ancient god body, the sword edge seemed to cut through the void as it swept towards Dongfang Guangyao. Dongfang Guangyao was also a little surprised by Yi Guqin's ancient god form, but he still attacked. Holding the sun golden wheel with both hands, he swept it out. The raging grand sun primordial fire wrapped around his body, making him look like a scorching sun. Boom, boom, boom. Violent collisions broke out one after another, and the power was terrifying. After Yi Guqian transformed into the ancient god form, his physical strength had increased by 8 times. In addition to his cultivation base and more than 10 times his vigorous essential qi, a casual sword strike could easily kill an expert of the 6th level of the divine dwelling realm. As for Dongfang Guangyao, after bringing out the light physique, his strength also rose to the peak. But even so, Dongfang Guangyao's eyes revealed a look of extreme surprise. Yi Guqian's ancient god form was too strong. Even though he had activated his light physique, he still felt as if his arms were about to shatter. How can Yi Guqian's physical body be so terrifying? Dongfang Guangyao's eyes revealed a trace of surprise. His light physique didn't specialize in the physical body. Although there was a certain increase in physical strength, it was obviously not comparable to the body of an ancient god. Dongfang Guangyao, if you have any trump cards, you can use them now. If you continue to hide them, you may not even have the chance to use them. Yi Guqian sneered coldly. Impudent. My strength is not something you can understand. Dongfang Guangyao rebuked. He began to activate his cultivation method, and a blazing wave of energy burst out from his body. This was Dongfang Guangyao's top cultivation method, the 9-revolution Great Sun technique. Then he raised his hand and a blinding amount of light converged, transforming into a beam of light that could destroy everything. Annihilation. Dongfang Guangyao waved his hand, and the beam of light that could annihilate everything fell toward Yi Guqian. This annihilation was more powerful than the Saint Sun technique and Divine Light technique. Seeing this, Yi Guqian once again displayed the Baji reincarnation sword technique. Extreme wind and extreme fire were displayed at the same time. The wind aided the fire, making the sword even more powerful. The sword light collided with the annihilation divine light, and the surrounding ground was overturned. The divine light broke through and penetrated Yi Guqian. Yi Guqian directly activated the ancient god immovable king armor. The golden armor condensed on his body, and when the divine light landed on it, it made a sizzling sound. But because its power had been weakened by the sword move, it didn't penetrate the armor. Seeing this, Dongfang Guangyao didn't stop at all. He flashed again and displayed his strongest move. Glorious Sun technique. Dongfang Guangyao roared. In his dantian there seemed to be light emitting. Then behind Dongfang Guangyao, a glorious sun appeared, rising from the horizon. A glorious sun anomaly? Yi Guqian's eyes flashed. Some powerful sky prides had powerful anomalies. For example, Dugu had the Demon King Ascending 9 Heavens anomaly. Shui Air had the Heavens Whale anomaly. And this glorious sun anomaly was obviously Dongfang Guangyao's talent. Even Yi Guqian had to admit that Dongfang Guangyao, who had the light physique and the glorious sun anomaly, was indeed a difficult enemy to deal with. Go! Dongfang Guangyao activated the power of his anomaly, and the glorious sun came pressing down with a terrifying heavenly might, as if it could burn everything in the world. Even the sky prides on the Dragon Phoenix list wouldn't be able to withstand this move. Even if they didn't die, they would be severely injured. Yi Guqian die. Dongfang Guangyao was very confident in his move. Dongfang Ziyun's heart also beat faster. Her lips curled into a smile, as if she could already see the scene of Yi Guqian being turned into black charcoal by this move. However, Yi Guqian's expression didn't change at all. Although the anomaly was powerful, it couldn't threaten his life. 8 Extremities Reincarnation Sword Technique. Yi Guqian held his sword with both hands, and divinatory seals appeared in the void around him. Tian Kuan Kan Li Sun Zhen Zhen Dui. 8 divinatory seals appeared in the void at the same time. Finally, they lined up in a row. Yi Guqian's sword directly pierced through the 8 divinatory seals. In an instant, the sword chi of 8 different attributes burst out with a loud bang. It was the ultimate move of the 8 Extremities Reincarnation Sword Technique. 8 Extremities Reincarnation, Destruction of Heaven and Earth. The 8 types of sword chi fused together, turning into a sword chi wheel that could destroy heaven and earth, and collided with Dongfang Guangyao's glorious sun anomaly. Rumble! A deafening sound filled the ears. The center of the collision was like the center of a nuclear explosion, blazing and dazzling. Terrifying sword qi and the power of the anomaly swept out in all directions. Dongfang Ziyun's expression suddenly changed, and she hurriedly used her true qi to defend. However, there was a puff. Dongfang Ziyun was still shaken to the point of spitting out a small mouthful of blood. Dongfang Guangyao was also pushed back, but a golden light shield appeared on the surface of his body, covering his entire body. The shock wave only caused ripples when it landed on the shield. It's over. Dongfang Guangyao's lips curled into a smile. Dongfang Ziyun also smiled. However, before their smiles could completely spread, a piercingly cold sword qi, accompanied by a cold shout, suddenly spread out from the smoke and dust. 10,000 God tribulation, destruction of heaven and earth. As the voice faded, an extremely fast silhouette broke through the smoke and dust. The power gathered at the tip of the sword, and it pierced through the air toward Dongfang Guangyao. Dongfang Guangyao's expression changed, and he hurriedly dodged. Clang! The tip of the sword landed on Dongfang Guangyao's golden shield. However, because this sword was an attack that pierced through the shield, therefore, in just a breath's time, the golden shield was directly pierced through. Yi Guchen's sword pierced through Dongfang Guangyao's shoulder. In an instant, blood splattered in the sky. Chapter 14:14. The bright red blood was extremely glaring as it sprinkled down from the sky. The longsword pierced through Dongfang Guangyao's shoulder. Dongfang Guangyao couldn't believe it until he felt a sharp pain in his body. Only then did he sober up and realize the fact. He was seriously injured by Yi Guchen. Dongfang Guangyao retreated abruptly with one hand covering his shoulder. His expression was one of shame, anger, and ferocity that he had never felt before. It was as if a lion was bitten by an ant that it didn't care about. Dongfang Ziyun, who was not far away, couldn't believe it either. Yi Guchen wasn't hurt at all in that collision. Instead, Dongfang Guangyao was seriously injured. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she wouldn't have believed it. Yi Guchen, you? Dongfang Guangyao's expression was ferocious like a furious lion. Yi Guchen's expression was indifferent. His ancient god physique and the immovable king armor were enough for him to withstand the shock wave. In comparison, Dongfang Guangyao's body was far inferior to Yi Guchen's. How can I lose to you? Dongfang Guangyao's body seemed to be burning as he pushed his light physique to the extreme. Burning Sun Domain. The light wheel behind Dongfang Guangyao's head released endless light. Golden lines spread out from his feet and spread into the void. It was as if the world around him had turned into a domain. It was similar to the sword principle domain, but it wasn't a real sword principle domain. It was a special ability of the light physique. This physique is interesting. Yi Guchen's eyes flashed. The light physique was beyond his expectations. Yi Guchen immediately felt that the space around him was like mercury. His genuine qi was suppressed. It felt as if he was stuck in a swamp. Yi Guchen's genuine qi, speed, and the power of his moves were all weakened under the suppression of the Burning Sun domain. Yi Guchen, my Burning Sun domain can weaken your abilities in all aspects. Inside this domain, I'm like a fish in water. My strength is multiplied. How are you going to fight me? Dongfang Guangyao shouted coldly. The wound on his shoulder also began to stop bleeding and heal. As expected, Big Brother Guangyao still has a backup plan. Dongfang Ziyun finally relaxed a little when he saw this scene. In fact, even Dongfang Guangyao himself didn't expect that he would use his trump card. Yi Guchen's strength had far exceeded his expectations. Kill. Dongfang Guangyao attacked again. His speed was extremely fast, as if he was a golden rainbow. Yi Guchen used the divine movement secret skill again, but it was slower than before by more than half. Dongfang Guangyao attacked again, and two golden sun wheels slashed towards Yi Guchen from the left and right. At the same time, Dongfang Guangyao made a strange seal with both of his hands. Vei seal a seal. He's a sunzazes SSSSS. SSSS. Blazing flames spewed out of the bottle, burning the void. In addition to the support of the Burning Sun domain, the power of this move was even more powerful than before. It was as if it could burn down the void. Yi Guchen directly used the immortal god's weep. With a swing of his sword, the scene of a group of immortals falling appeared. However, The moment this sword was unleashed, its power was immediately weakened by the burning sun domain. Rumble. Between the collisions, great waves burst forth. In this collision, it was obvious that Dongfang Guangyao had the upper hand. Yi Guchen retreated. But his expression did not change in the slightest as he said, "It's not like this, Yi doesn't have a domain." With that, Yi Guchen's entire body surged with blood-red blood qi. Endless sword qi turned into a blood tide and poured out. An 18-floored blood prison rose from the ground. This was the Azura Sword Dao's sword domain. The Azura Blood Sea's 18 levels. The 18 layers of the Azura Blood Sea collided with the incinerating sun domain and repelled each other. Not only that, Yi Guchen actually used the edgeless sword Dao again. An immemorial divine mountain floated in the void, and a terrifying gravity spread out. Originally, Dongfang Guangyao was like a fish in water in the incinerating sun domain. But now he was suppressed by the edgeless sword Dao's gravity sword Dao, and his speed returned to its original state. Damn it! Yi Guchen's talent in the sword Dao is too monstrous. Dongfang Guangyao's face was gloomy. Even though he was facing an enemy, Dongfang Guangyao had to admit that Yi Guchen's talent in the sword Dao was indeed extraordinary. Two completely different sword Dao domains were easily displayed by him. And Dongfang Guangyao also knew that Yi Guchen had more than just these two sword Dao domains. He had also comprehended more sword Dao. Yi Guchen's two sword Dao domains were enough to weaken the power of the incinerating sun domain by more than half. Seal of the Great Sun Aquarius, go! Dongfang Guangyao's move changed. The Crimson Aquarius directly suppressed Yi Guchen. Seeing this, Yi Guchen raised his hand. An endless sword qi gathered to form a dazzling sword lotus. It was the sword sect's unique skill, the reincarnation sword lotus. And it was a complete 360 leaves reincarnation sword lotus. Yi Guchen flicked his finger, and the sword lotus drew a beautiful light tail, and collided with the Crimson Aquarius seal. Boom! It was as if two stars had collided, and a huge wave burst out. Endless sword qi and crimson flames swept out in all directions, raising the surrounding ruins. Dongfang Guangyao's figure was pushed back, and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Yi Guchen's figure was also pushed back, and the blood in his chest was shaking. With this move, it was obvious who had the upper hand. Dongfang Guangyao's incinerating sun domain also collapsed under such a violent impact. How could this be? Looking at Dongfang Guangyao, who was completely at a disadvantage, Dongfang Ziyun shook her head in disbelief. In her eyes, Dongfang Guangyao was the symbol of invincibility. Other than Di Haoyan and a few others, no one could pose a threat to him. But now Yi Guchen, whom Dongfang Ziyun looked down on the most, was completely suppressing Dongfang Guangyao. This was something she couldn't believe. However, if Dongfang Guangyao was completely defeated, then she wouldn't have a good time either. Thinking of this, Dongfang Ziyun's face revealed a trace of ruthlessness. While Yi Guchen was attacking Dongfang Guangyao, she also attacked. Dongfang Ziyun's current strength wasn't weak. She directly summoned a flying sword and rushed towards Yi Guchen's back. Ha! I knew you would attack. Yi Guchen didn't see the flying sword behind him, but his divine soul was extremely sensitive, and he had already detected Dongfang Ziyun's movements. Yi Guchen turned around and directly shattered Dongfang Ziyun's flying sword. Then Yi Guchen directly superimposed the 18 levels of the Azura Blood Sea and the Gravity Sword domain. The ultimate sword domain formed by the fusion of the two sword domains crushed towards Dongfang Ziyun inch by inch. No. Dongfang Ziyun's face was filled with unprecedented fear. Chapter 14-15. Although it was just the dual sword domains, the power was enough to make Dongfang Ziyun shudder. Her scalp went numb, as if the god of death was approaching. How is this possible? That move. Not to mention Dongfang Ziyun, even Dongfang Guangyao's expression changed when he sensed the power of the dual sword domains. Even he could sense an extremely dangerous aura from it. If this move had landed on him, the result wouldn't have been much better. No, Yi Guchen, don't. Dongfang Ziyun's eyes were filled with extreme fear. Now that she was on the verge of death, she was finally afraid and screamed. She even started to beg for mercy. However, Yi Guchen's expression was cold, without any pity. He would never show any mercy to his enemies. Not to mention a woman like Dongfang Ziyun who was so vicious. It could be said that if it wasn't for Dongfang Ziyun, he and the Dongfang family wouldn't have gotten to this point. I've let you live for so long. Now it's time for you to go to hell. Yi Guchen activated the dual sword domains. The two sword domains overlapped like a millstone, crushing the void as they rushed towards Dongfang Ziyun. Dongfang Ziyun screamed and tried to resist, but she was powerless. In the end, she could only watch as her delicate body was slowly crushed by the ultimate sword domain. It felt as if her delicate body was being sucked into a millstone and slowly ground into blood. The pain was unimaginable. In the end, Dongfang Ziyun directly exploded into a bloody mist with a puff. This karma had finally come to an end. However, Yi Guchen knew that although he had taken Dongfang Ziyun's life, he had a deep grudge with the Dongfang family. However, he had already formed a deep-seated grudge with the Dongfang family, and there was no room for reconciliation. Yi Guchen turned his head and stared coldly at Dongfang Guangyao. Dongfang Guangyao's heart started to beat like a drum. He gritted his teeth, turned around and flashed away. Do you think you can escape? Yi Guchen's expression was cold. Since he had already killed Dongfang Tsangming and Dongfang Ziyun, he didn't mind killing Dongfang Guangyao. As for completely offending the Dongfang family, it didn't matter. Even if he let Dongfang Guangyao go now, Dongfang Guangyao wouldn't let him go. Seeing Yi Guchen chasing after him, Dongfang Guangyao gritted his teeth, turned his head and shouted coldly, Yi Guchen, don't force me. If you push me too far, you won't have a good time either. Dongfang Guangyao's expression was stern. It was the first time he was in such a difficult situation. However, Dongfang Guangyao was only at a disadvantage. He wasn't completely defeated by Yi Guchen. However, it was almost impossible for him to kill Yi Guchen now. Therefore, Dongfang Guangyao chose to retreat temporarily. After that, he discussed with Chu Xuanjin, Nangong Zhuyun, and the others before coming to a conclusion. Dongfang Guangyao fled while Yi Guchen chased after him. Right at this moment, an azure-robed figure suddenly appeared in the depths of the fog. Yi Guchen's expression froze. The azure-robed figure appeared. It was Mu Nieqing. Mu Nieqing glanced around and saw the fleeing Dongfang Guangyao and Yi Guchen chasing after him. The expression in his eyes changed slightly. How could this be? Mu Nieqing wasn't stupid. He knew that Yi Guchen and Dongfang Guangyao had a conflict. And this conflict wasn't just because Yi Guchen used neo-demons to trick them. These South Horizon region geniuses had a lot of hatred. But what surprised Mu Nieqing was that Yi Guchen was able to beat Dongfang Guangyao so badly that he even covered his head and fled like a rat. Dongfang Guangyao was one of the top 10 young masters. Not to mention the South Horizon region, even in the Dark World, he was quite famous. Many Dark World geniuses wanted to meet this young master Tongtian. But now, he was like a stray dog being chased by Yi Guchen. This was surprising. It seems that this new sword young master is terrifyingly strong. Even young master Tongtian can't beat him. Mu Nieqing couldn't help but become more cautious. At this moment, Yi Guchen also became vigilant when he saw Mu Nieqing. He was afraid that Mu Nieqing would take advantage of the fight between the snipe and the clam. Dongfang Guangyao took this opportunity to perform a secret technique. His whole body seemed to be burning, and then turned into a fireball and rushed away. Yi Guchen frowned slightly, but still didn't chase after him. With Mu Nieqing here, he couldn't kill Dongfang Guangyao in peace. At that time, Dongfang Guangyao would counterattack and injure him, and in the end, Mu Nieqing would be able to take advantage of it. Haha, sword young master Yi Guchen. I didn't expect you, the new young master, to be the most hidden existence. Mu Nieqing narrowed his eyes slightly and chuckled. 30% sharp, 70% hidden. To be in an invincible position. Yi Guchen looked indifferent. The tricks he had hidden up his sleeves were not limited to this. If the strength that Yi Guchen had shown on the surface was like an icicle, then if that was the case, then his true strength would be an entire iceberg hidden beneath the surface of the water. 30% sharp, 70% hidden. To be in an invincible position. Today I have seen it. First, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. You used the neo-demons to plot against our two forces, and then you hid your strength. Now even young Master Tongtian is no match for you. Mu Nieqing sighed. So, do you want to try? Yi Guchen's eyes were cold. Feeling Yi Guchen's aura, Mu Nieqing's eyes narrowed. He could feel that although Yi Guchen fought with Dongfang Guangyao, his aura didn't weaken much. In other words, Yi Guchen wasn't injured. If Yi Guchen was injured, Mu Nieqing might be willing to take advantage of this opportunity. But now, after knowing Yi Guchen's strength, he obviously couldn't fight Yi Guchen to the death. Although he was the leader of the 7 bully lords, he wasn't confident that he could defeat Yi Guchen, unless he was with Yi Tsongshen. But now that Yi Tsongshen was separated from him, they naturally couldn't work together. Thinking of this, Mu Nieqing shook his head and said, "Forget it. If there's a chance, we'll fight again. Besides, even if I can't defeat you, the Tingxue house behind me has people who can defeat you and kill you easily." Mu Nieqing's words stunned Yi Guchen. He said, "The force behind you is Tingxue house. Why haven't you heard of it?" Mu Nieqing said. Yi Guchen's eyes changed slightly. Tingxue house, Tingxue house. They were only one word apart, but they were so similar. Does Tingxue house have an expert called Shui Yiqing? Yi Guchen asked. Mu Nieqing laughed softly and said, "I didn't expect you to know so much about Tingxue house." Yi Guchen's eyes flashed when he heard Mu Nieqing admit it. He continued to ask, "Does Tingxue house have a girl called Ji Ruqianx?" Chapter 14-16. Mu Nieqing arched an eyebrow at Yi Guchen's words. Jiru Qianxue was indeed well known in the dark world, but in the South Horizon region, she'd hidden it very well. He didn't understand how Yi Guchen knew. "It seems you know my young miss," said Mu Nieqing. "Not only do I know her, but I'm also connected to her," said Yi Guchen. If Jiru Qianxue really did belong to Tingxue house, then Yi Guchen didn't have to attack them. "Connected you?" Mu Nieqing frowned. He'd vaguely heard that Jiru Qianxue had an older brother in the South Horizon region, whom she got along very well with. Even now, Jiru Qianxue had completely become the Heaven Weeping Witch, but she still had feelings for her brother. Could it be? Mu Nieqing thought of this possibility. If that was the case, he really couldn't do anything to Yi Guchen. "For Shui-er's sake, I'll let it go today. I won't attack you, but I hope you won't target anyone related to me," said Yi Guchen. Yi Guchen couldn't stop Mu Nieqing from attacking the other geniuses of the South Horizon region. But the bottom line was that he couldn't touch Yi Guchen's people. Otherwise, even if Mu Nieqing and Shui were from the same faction, he'd still take care of this trouble. "Oh, is that so? But I haven't investigated the specifics yet, so I can't be sure what your relationship with my young miss is. We'll see when the time comes." Mu Nieqing put away his fighting spirit. If Yi Guchen really was related to Jiru Qianxue, if he attacked and caused any harm or threat to Yi Guchen, given Jiru Qianxue's personality, she'd probably tear him apart. Mu Nieqing was also wary of this, so he didn't act rashly. "I'll get to the bottom of this. Goodbye." Mu Nieqing's figure flashed and he retreated. Watching Mu Nieqing leave, Yi Guchen fell into deep thought. He never thought that there would be such a force behind Shui. Moreover, from the looks of it, Tingxue house should be similar to the Rakshasa sect and Yellow Spring sect. They were all top powers in the dark world. I didn't expect Shui to have such a background. However, it seems that Shui has also come to Burial Sky Island. With her identity as the Heaven Weeping Witch, she will definitely be the focus of attention. Yi Guchen frowned as he pondered. Previously, when Shui revealed her identity as the Heaven Weeping Witch in the Heavenly Wasteland Plains, it had caused a huge commotion. Everyone wanted to kill the Heaven Weeping Demoness. One could imagine how much the South Horizon region rejected the Heaven Weeping Witch. At that time, if Shui were to appear, she would definitely be attacked by the geniuses from all over the South Horizon region. No matter how powerful Shui was, it was difficult for her to fight alone. 2 fists were no match for 4 hands. No matter what, I must protect Shui, when the time comes, even if I have to become the enemy of the entire world. A cold flame ignited in Yi Guchen's eyes. Back in the Heaven Wasteland Plains, Shui had transformed into the Heaven Weeping Demoness to protect him. Now it was Yi Guchen's turn to protect her. Yi Guchen then left the ruins. He had already made an appointment with Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui. If they managed to escape the pursuit, they would meet at a place outside the primordial ruins. After an hour, Yi Guchen arrived at the rendezvous point. He found that Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui were already there. Yi Guchen, it's good that you're fine. Seeing Yi Guchen's arrival, Bai Mingxing, face lit up. How could anything happen to Brother Yi? It's impossible. Shimen Fugui was rather confident. Yi Guchen could protect him and kill his way out of the perilous West Island. Facing the current crisis, he could naturally solve it with ease. How's the situation? Bai Mingxing, asked curiously. She relied on the speed of her movement technique to shake off the pursuit. As for Shimen Fugui, with his heavenly noble fate and overwhelming luck, he could naturally shake off the pursuit. Therefore, they were very curious about Yi Guchen's situation. Dongfang Ziyan was killed by me. As for Dongfang Guangyao, he escaped. Yi Guchen said lightly. Hearing this, Bai Mingxing's pretty eyes widened, her face filled with disbelief. Shimen Fugui's chubby face trembled violently, his small eyes filled with shock. Although Yi Guchen only said a simple sentence, it showed that he had defeated Dongfang Guangyao. That's awesome, brother. Dongfang Guangyao is the top genius of the Dongfang family, one of the oldest young masters. Brother Yi, you defeated him. Shimen Fugui beamed with excitement. He had found a big, thick thigh to rely on. Bai Mingxing, also opened her small cherry mouth, very surprised. At first, she thought that with Yi Guchen's strength, at most, was on par with Dongfang Guangyao. Who would have thought that Yi Guchen would be able to defeat Dongfang Guangyao, and even make him escape? She then recalled how Yi Guchen took care of her when they were dealing with the 9-headed divine bug king, and couldn't help but blush slightly. She then looked at Yi Guchen's handsome side profile. Yi Guchen was still very charming. Yi Guchen didn't notice Bai Mingxing's infatuation and said lightly, let's leave this place first. We can't guarantee that they won't chase after us. Brother Yi, what's the plan next? Shimen Fugui asked. There will definitely be a fierce battle next. Dongfang Guangyao, Chu Xuanjin, and Nangong Juyin will definitely not let us go. They will probably go to the stronghold first. After all, there are people from the Sword Dynasty there. They will threaten us with the Sword Son of the Sword Dynasty and force us to fight with them. Yi Guchen had thought it through. Then what should we do? Yi Guchen, no matter how powerful you are, you can't deal with the three of them at the same time. Bai Mingxing said with concern. Shimen Fugui glanced at Bai Mingxing, and said, why are you so concerned about Brother Yi? Why don't you care about me? Get lost, you fat pig. Bai Mingxing kicked him. It's not impossible to deal with them. Yi Guchen's eyes flashed. Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui were both shocked by his words. Could it be that Yi Guchen had a plan to deal with Chu Xuanjin and the other two? The truth was just as they thought. Yi Guchen did have a plan. Now that he thought about it, the safest way was to make his spiritual dwelling break through to the world's spiritual dwelling. Only then would he have the confidence to kill Dongfang Guangyao and the others. And to transform his spiritual dwelling, he still needed to go through the wind calamity. By the way, when I met Gui Wuchang and Yang Hong of the 13 gangsters, they talked about it. Someone found a demon god's lair in the chilly Wind Valley on the northern island. Could it be the place to go through the wind calamity? Yi Guchen was thinking seriously. Now Chu Xuanjin and the others would definitely go to the stronghold. Then Yi Guchen could only leave the stronghold with the Sword Son of the Sword Dynasty and the others. And Yi Guchen had to go to the chilly Wind Valley. Even if there was a slight possibility, he would not let it go. If I can really transform into a world spiritual dwelling, then I won't be afraid of Huang Qianqiu, Jiang Ziwei, or even Di Haoyan, let alone Dongfang Guangyao and Chu Xuanjin. Yi Guchen's eyes were bright. This was an opportunity for him to rise completely. Chapter 14-17. The Nine Tribulations Heart Sutra was Yi Guchen's biggest trump card. Yi Guchen could only break through to the Heavenly Palace Venerable Realm after passing the 4 tribulations of earth, water, fire, and wind. Therefore, Yi Guchen had to pass the wind tribulation. After making up his mind, Yi Guchen left the ancient ruins with Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugue and rushed toward the stronghold. On the other side, Dongfang Guangyao, who had escaped in a sorry state, finally found Chu Xuanjun and Nangong Juyun. Their faces were ugly because they had lost track of Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugue. Brother Dongfang, you didn't kill Yi Guchen? Nangong Juyun asked with a doubtful expression. In his opinion, Dongfang Guangyao was one of the best among the 10 great childs. Logically speaking, it was not impossible for him to kill Yi Guchen. Dongfang Guangyao's face darkened when he heard this. He said coldly, "We all underestimated Yi Guchen. His strength is not as simple as it seems. He hid it too well." In order to save face, Dongfang Guangyao didn't say that he was beaten by Yi Guchen. He only said that he could not kill Yi Guchen. Then what should we do? Do we just let Yi Guchen be arrogant? Nangong Juyun's face was gloomy. His hatred for Yi Guchen had long been engraved into his bones. As long as Yi Guchen was alive, he would not be able to calm down. Don't worry. Hit the snake where it hurts. Yi Guchen is difficult to catch, but the other sword princes of the Sword Dynasty are still at the stronghold. Chu Xuanjun sneered. You mean, it's not good for us to openly attack the sword princes of the Sword Dynasty? Nangong Juyun frowned. It was not that he was worried about the Sword Dynasty. It was that if this matter was spread out, it would be bad for their reputation. After all, the battle on Burial Island was a battle between the South Horizon region and the Dark World. Such internal strife was indeed somewhat inappropriate. However, when Dongfang Guangyao heard this, he sneered. Brother Chu's idea is very good. Brother Nangong, what are you worried about? Didn't Yi Guchen also brutally kill people of my Dongfang family? Dongfang Guangyao agreed with Chu Xuanjun's suggestion. Nangong Juyun did not say anything when he saw this. As long as he could kill Yi Guchen, any method would be worth it. After making their decision, Chu Xuanjun and the others also began to fly toward the stronghold. At the same time they set off. Yi Guchen and the other two had already set off. After a few days, Yi Guchen was the first to return to the stronghold. As soon as he arrived at the stronghold, Jian Jinghong and the other sword sons sensed his presence and came forward to welcome him. Master, you're finally back. Mu Xingzu's eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Although she was confident in Yi Guchen's strength, she couldn't help but worry. I'm fine, but I have something to tell you. Yi Guchen's tone was slightly serious. What happened? Jian Jinghong's face was also serious. Yi Guchen then told Jian Jinghong and the others about some of the things that happened in the ancient ruins. I see. It seems that we have completely offended the 3 young masters. Jian Jinghong's face was also a little serious. If they had only offended 1 young master, it wouldn't matter. But now, they had offended 3 young masters. In the entire South Sky region, apart from the 1 emperor and the 4 kings, who else had the confidence to face the 3 young masters at the same time? Only Yi Guchen had the guts to do so. However, Jian Jinghong and the others did not have the slightest intention to complain about Yi Guchen. Dongfang Guangyao and the others wanted a yard after taking an inch. Yi Guchen naturally could not bear it. He was not that kind of person. Then, what should we do next? Jian Jinghong asked. They will definitely come to the stronghold to look for you, and then use you to threaten me. Next, I'm afraid we have to evacuate the stronghold. Yi Guchen said. The surrounding sword sons nodded slightly. There was nothing they could do about it. But I really don't want to evacuate like this. Ling Emoshu sighed deeply. Their sword dynasty was the first dynasty, but they were forced to evacuate. Anyone would feel unhappy. It won't be long. It won't be long before we come back here. Yi Guchen's eyes bloomed with a cold light. He did not forget that there might be an opportunity in the Chiliwind Valley on the North Island. If this opportunity could let him transform into a world divine dwelling, Dongfang Guangyao and the others were nothing in front of him. After making the decision, Yi Guchen also left with a group of Sword Dynasty's sword sons, Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugue. Just half a day after they left the stronghold, Dongfang Guangyao and the others arrived at the stronghold. Looking at the murderous and gloomy faces of Dongfang Guangyao and the other 2, the rest of the South Horizon region's sky prides in the stronghold were all shocked. The reason why the three young masters were here was probably because of Yi Guchen. That Yi Guchen is really something. He has offended the three young masters. How is he going to survive in the burial Sky Island? Yeah, I guess he has to hide in a corner and wait for the end of burial Sky Island. Many Sky Prides were whispering to each other. Damn it, they got ahead of us. Dongfang Guangyao said with a gloomy face. Fine, but I believe that with Yi Guchen's character, he won't be a coward. He will definitely come back to us. Chu Xuanjin said indifferently. He will come back to us. Is he going to die? Nangong Jueyin did not agree. I'm afraid he will only come to us after he is confident. Chu Xuanjin said. Confident? Even the four emperors' Sky Prides will not have the slightest confidence to face the three of us at the same time. Unless Yi Guchen soars to the sky and directly breaks through to the Heavenly Palace Venerable Realm, how can he fight with us? Nangong Jueyin said coldly. He really could not imagine the circumstances under which Yi Guchen would come back to look for them. At the same time, in a wasteland, Yi Guchen and the others were temporarily out of trouble. Well, everyone, I may have to go to the North Island, Yi Guchen said. The North Island? That is the place controlled by the Sky Prides of the Dark World, Jian Jinghong said in surprise. Mu Xingzu also said, Master, isn't that place too dangerous? Shiman Fugui waved his hand and said, Don't worry. Brother Yi has gone deep into that place before. Brother Yi took me safely out of the West Island. That's too dangerous. Master, let Xingzhu go with you, Mu Xingzu said. Yes, Brother Yi, let the Sword Sons go together, Jian Jinghong said. Yi Guchen shook his head and said, The North Island is too dangerous. I can't let you take the risk. Moreover, the more people there are, the better. Yi Guchen would not let the Sword Sons of the Sword Dynasty accompany him in danger because of him. Seeing Yi Guchen's tough attitude, Jian Jinghong and the others finally compromised. Don't worry, we will go with Yi Guchen. Bai Mingxing patted her chest and said, Yes, yes, yes. With me, Brother Yi, it will be difficult for anything to happen to him. Shiman Fugui also nodded repeatedly. Mu Xingzu and the others were reluctantly relieved. After that, Yi Guchen also set off for the North Island with Bai Mingxing, and Shiman Fugui. As for Jian Jinghong and the other Sword Sons, they looked for opportunities on their own, and waited for Yi Guchen to return to the stronghold with him. Chu Xuanjin, Dongfang Guangyao, Nangong Jueyin, when I return from the North Island, you will be defeated, Yi Guchen said coldly in his heart. Chapter 14:18. Just as Yi Guchen and the others were about to set off for the North Island, on the other side, in a wasteland, two silhouettes were chasing after him. One of them was a woman in blood-red armor. She had a beautiful face and skin as white as snow. Her long red hair danced like flames. She carried a blood-red long axe on her back, which was a sharp contrast to her slender body. The woman's temperament was similar to Princess Luo Ho's. Although she was a woman, she had a cold, murderous aura. Beside her stood a handsome young man with a folding fan in his hand. These two people were two of the 7 bully lords. Azura Palace, Nuwa. Nightless City, Songgu. Nuwa had discovered the Azura vital energy left by Duguqioma earlier, so she had followed him all the way here. However, Duguqioma's speed was far beyond their expectations. That direction is the North Island? Nuwa looked into the distance and said, North Island? Why is that person going to the North Island? Doesn't he know that the North Island is also controlled by the Dark World's prodigies? If he wants to go, he should go to the East Island or the South Island. Songgu was also confused. The North Island was controlled by the Dark World. This was a well-known fact. The South Horizon region's prodigy, who possessed the Azura vital energy, should have gone to the East Island or the South Island. It was impossible for him to go to the North Island where the Dark World's prodigies gathered. Maybe he has a purpose, but no matter what, I have to find him and find out the source of the white Azura vital energy, Nuwa said. The Azura vital energy was a unique skill of the Azura Palace. It could not be spread outside. If Warstar knew about the Azura Palace's top prodigy, he would not let the South Horizon region's prodigy, who possessed the Azura vital energy, go. Let's go. Nua and Songgu rushed toward the North Island. On the other side, Duguchioma, with his white hair fluttering in the wind and his cold face, was rushing toward the North Island at an extremely fast speed. If I can transform with the help of the chilly wind demon valley, then no one on Sky Burial Island can stop me, Duguchioma murmured. He had also received orders from Yi Guchen to rush to the North Island. After all, the North Island was the territory of the geniuses from the Dark World. In addition, the Evil Wind Demon Valley was a place of opportunity. Many geniuses from the Dark World might gather there. Yi Guchen only had Baimingxing, and Shimen Fugui with him. Clearly, there was a certain level of danger. Therefore, he asked Dugu and Xiaomo to come along. Only with Dugu Xiaomo's help at the side could they be considered to be in the bag. About a few days later, Yi Guchen and the others also stepped into the territory of the North Island. Not long after entering the Northern Island, Yi Guchen caught a genius from the Dark World and asked him about the location of the Een Wind Devil Valley. You want to go to that kind of place? The Dark World prodigy was very surprised. What's wrong? Yi Guchen raised his eyebrows. That Een Wind Devil Valley is a forbidden land of death, and there is a high possibility that the king of the Een Devil gods is there. In addition, there are also giants of the Dark World there. You will be courting death if you go there, the Dark World prodigy said. Oh, is that so? Yi Guchen laughed. The 4 giants of the Dark World were existences comparable to the 4 emperors. But now, Yi Guchen did not have to be too afraid of geniuses of this level. He killed the Dark World's prodigy with a wave of his hand. Then he brought Baimingxing and Shimen Fugui to the Een Wind Devil Valley. The Een Wind Devil Valley was located in the northern region of the North Island. It was a place that was filled with Een Wind all year round. It was also a nest of the Een Devil gods. At this moment, there were already many geniuses from the Dark World surrounding the Een Wind Devil Valley. I heard that there are piles of demon soul crystals in the Een Wind Devil Valley, but we can't get them. I heard that the 4 top geniuses are coming. I wonder if they can successfully enter the Evil Wind Devil Valley? The demon soul crystals are very beneficial for the cultivation of the divine soul. They are very important for the transformation of the Sea of Consciousness and the Sky Palace. Now, in the Sky Burial Island, they are competing to see who can break through and become a Sky Palace honorable first. Many geniuses from the Dark World were discussing. At this moment, a few figures with powerful auras appeared. It's the 13 Guardians. Some of the geniuses from the Dark World could not help but exclaim. One of them was wearing a blood-red robe and holding a blood-red scimitar. He was the famous Bloody Butcher among the 13 Guardians. On the other side, there was a feminine young man. He was also one of the 13 Guardians. His name was Lu Piao. The last one was a bald monk. However, there was a scar on his face and he had a ferocious look on his face. His name was Ghost Monk, and he was also a famous figure among the 13 Guardians. At this moment, the appearance of 3 of the 13 Guardians surprised the surrounding geniuses from the Dark World. However, the 3 of them did not care about the gazes of the surrounding geniuses. Instead, they were staring at the Een Wind Devil Valley. The Een Wind Devil Valley is not easy to enter, Bloody Butcher said after a glance. But there are a lot of demon spirit crystals in there. If we can get them, they will be of great help to us in breaking through to the sovereign stage, Lu Piao said. His voice was as feminine as a woman's. Do you think it's that simple? Do you really think that there won't be any powerful figures coming when such a place of opportunity has appeared? Ghost Monk sneered. Just as he finished speaking, a voice rang out. Suddenly, a blood-red cloud rolled over from the distant horizon. Upon closer inspection, it turned out to be a wave of blood-red evil chi. That's right. The blood-red evil chi seemed to have condensed into a substantial cloud, covering the sky and earth as it swept over. And in the blood-red evil chi cloud, a figure clad in blood-red armor appeared. A powerful pressure of the peak of the 9th level of the divine dwelling realm swept out, making the geniuses around the Een Wind Devil Valley feel suffocated. It's one of the 4 powerful figures, Tian Luosha from the Luosha sect. Some of the geniuses from the Dark World exclaimed. Tian Luosha was a top young supreme being from the Luosha sect. Moreover, he was one of the 4 powerful figures. No one expected Tian Luosha to appear. Tian Luosha was clad in blood-red armor, and carried a blood-red spear on his back. There seemed to be a sea of blood hidden in his eyes, carrying a strong evil qi. Tian Luosha was definitely one of the most powerful geniuses in the Dark World. He was strong enough to contend with the 4 emperors of the South Sky region. The Wind Devil Valley is a great opportunity for me to break through to the sovereign stage of the Heavenly Palace, Tian Luosha said in a hoarse voice. Bloody Butcher, Lu Piao, and Ghost Monk's faces turned ugly when they saw Tian Luosha's arrival. With Tian Luosha here, they could only pick up the scraps. And while everyone was shocked by Tian Luosha's arrival, on the other side of the horizon, another beautiful figure arrived. She is. When they saw this beautiful figure, all the geniuses from the Dark World were shocked again and exclaimed. Chapter 14:19. That figure was a beautiful lady in a rainbow-colored dress. Her hair was black and shiny, and her skin was as white as snow. She looked extremely elegant. Her pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes were as clear as water, charming like silk, and captivating. She was a peerless beauty with peerless talent and alluring beauty. All the sky prides from the Dark World were stunned. Even Blood Butcher, Lu Piao, Ghost Monk, and the other sky prides from the 13 tycoons were drooling. The lady in front of them was famous in the Dark World. She was the dream lover of many male martial artists. Her cultivation was also very high. Although she was not among the 4 tycoons or the 7 tycoons, her true strength was definitely comparable to Moon Yiqing. Even if she faced the 4 tycoons, she would not be too weak. When Tian Luosha saw this lady, surprise flashed across his eyes. He did not expect her to come here. I didn't expect you to come to the Evil Wind Demon Valley too, Aishang, Tian Luosha said with a hoarse voice. Hee, since all of you are here, why can't I come? The lady named Aishang laughed. Her voice was clear and beautiful. If Yi Guchen was here, he would definitely be surprised. This lady was the tomboy that he met in the sacred city of fortune. She was also the one who took Su Qiqing's Aishang away. Moreover, she seemed to be related to the Su family. With you here, I'm afraid we will have to give away a portion of the treasures in the Evil Wind Demon Valley, Tian Luosha said. His attitude towards Aishang was not too cold. This lady was not to be trifled with. When the time comes, we will rely on our own abilities, Aishang said with a smile. Then Tian Luosha and the others did not hesitate and directly entered the Evil Wind Demon Valley. Aishang also entered in a flash. Blood Butcher, Lu Piao, and Ghost Monk followed closely behind. After that, it was the other sky prides from the Dark World. Only a small number of sky prides from the Dark World were wary of the Evil Wind Demon Valley, and did not enter. The entire Evil Wind Demon Valley was huge, and the most terrifying wind was only in the deepest part. Therefore, the wind in the outer part was not too fatal. Not long after Tian Luosha, Aishang, and the others entered. On the distant horizon, 3 black dots appeared. It was Yi Guchen and the other 2 who had rushed over. Is that the Evil Wind Devil Valley? Yi Guchen muttered to himself as he looked at the pitch-black valley not far away. The demon god was the same as the neo-demons. They were both creatures of the Dark World. And their nest was obviously not that easy to break into. The neo-demon lairs at the periphery of the primordial relic had blocked Chu Xuanjin, and the others for many days. There are some sky prides from the Dark World outside, but none of them look particularly powerful. Are there no powerful sky prides from the Dark World who have come? Bai Mingxing said after glancing around. I don't know. It's possible that they have already entered. However, the Wind Devil Valley shouldn't be that easy to enter. Yi Guchen guessed. However, his main purpose of coming here was not to obtain the opportunities in the Evil Wind Devil Valley, but to transform his divine dwellings. Therefore, Yi Guchen didn't really care if the heavenly talents from the Dark World took the opportunity. After that, Yi Guchen and the others directly revealed themselves in the open. Yes, there are people there. Judging from their auras, they don't seem like sky prides from the Dark World. The surrounding sky prides from the Dark World immediately locked onto Yi Guchen and the others. They could also feel that the auras of Yi Guchen and the others were not from the Dark World. Kill. Without any hesitation, Yi Guchen summoned the 108,000 heaven-ripping sword souls in his body. The green sword souls burst out and turned into a green torrent that could destroy everything, sweeping towards the sky prides from the dark world. This was because there was no one with outstanding strength among this group of sky prides from the dark world. Therefore, Yi Guchen alone could unleash the sword sect's unique skill and kill everyone. No one could stop him. Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui didn't even have to lift a finger. So powerful. Bai Mingxing, beautiful eyes were also shining brightly. Yi Guchen single-handedly defeated all the sky prides from the dark world. In just a short while, all the sky prides from the dark world outside the evil wind demon valley were slaughtered. Looking at the ground full of corpses and blood, Yi Guchen's expression didn't change much. The battle between the two factions was always a fight to the death. Yi Guchen wasn't a soft-hearted person. "Let's go in," Yi Guchen said. He led Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui into the evil wind demon valley. Not long after they had entered, a voice suddenly rang out. Dugu Qiuma also rushed over. Looking at the ground full of corpses, Dugu Qiuma's expression didn't change. He turned his head and looked at the distant horizon. The eyes of the soul-devouring demon flashed with a cold light. "Still following behind me? Do you really want to die?" Dugu Qiuma narrowed his eyes and a cold light flashed in them. How could he not know that someone was following him? It was just that Dugu Qiuma couldn't be bothered. However, they still persevered in following Dugu Qiuma. This made Dugu Qiuma's murderous intent surge. "I'll finish you off in the evil wind demon valley," Dugu Qiuma murmured coldly. Then in a flash he entered the evil wind demon valley. Not long after he entered, two figures flashed over from the distant horizon. One of them was a woman in blood-red armor. She had long red hair, a seductive appearance and a sexy figure. She carried a blood-red long axe on her back. The other person was a handsome young master, who held a folding fan in his hand. These two people were Nua and Songgu, who had followed Dugu Qiuma all the way here. They were also one of the 7 bully lords. Nua looked around and saw the ground full of corpses. She was surprised and said, "The dead are all sky prides from the dark world." She went forward and checked the corpses. The wounds are all the same. It's a penetrating sword wound. There should be only one person who did it. Such terrifying strength. Could it be the person we're following? Songgu guessed. Nua shook her head and said, "It shouldn't be. There's no aura of Azura true chi left on these corpses. It should be another person." Songgu clicked his tongue and said, "It's hard to imagine that so many sky prides were killed by one person in an instant. That person must be a sky pride from the South Sky region. Who is it? A sky pride of the 4 emperors? Or Dihaotian?" If things were as he guessed, it would be dangerous to enter the evil wind demon valley. It doesn't seem like it. It seems that other than the person we're following, there are other sky prides from the South Sky region here. Let's go in, but be careful. Nua's tone was serious. Although they were one of the 7 bully lords and were powerful, but the ground full of corpses reminded them. Other than the person they were following, there was another sky pride from the South Sky region, who had entered the evil wind demon valley. Nu Luo and Songgu entered the chilly wind devil valley with vigilance and caution. In an instant, the evil wind demon valley was full of heroes. Chapter 1420. The evil wind demon valley was the nest of the Een demon gods. Furthermore, this wasn't an ordinary gathering nest. It was more like a mother's nest. Almost all the Een demon gods in the North Island came from there. The entire evil wind demon valley was huge. The interior of the cave extended in all directions, with many different caves and passages. If a weak prodigy was lost in there was almost no chance of coming out alive. The first to enter was Tian Luosha. As one of the 4 overlords of the Dark World, his strength was comparable to that of the South Sky region's 4 emperors. Tian Luosha did not even need to attack those ordinary Een demon gods. He took a step forward, and a circular blood-colored air wave burst out, killing the Een demon gods around him. And Tian Luosha did not care about the demon soul crystals left behind by the dead Een demon gods. What he cared about was the opportunities in the depths of the evil wind demon valley. Next was Anaishang. She wore a rainbow-colored dress, and her skin was as white as snow. She had a pair of beautiful eyes that were as charming as autumn water. Although Anaishang looked like a delicate beauty, she wasn't weak when she truly displayed her abilities. Her cultivation had reached the 9th level of the Divine Dwelling Realm. Next were Blood Buddha, Lu Piao, and Ghost Monk. These 3 were from the 13 gangsters, and their strength was not weak. Other prodigies from the Dark World also entered. Inside a pitch-black cave passageway, 3 figures appeared. They were Yi Guqin, Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui. Why do I feel that the evil wind demon valley is a little scary? Shimen Fugui said as he wiped his shoulders. Fatty, are you scared? Bai Mingxing, said in disdain. How is that possible? With Brother Yi around, how can I be scared? Shimen Fugui said confidently. His confidence now was Yi Guqin. With Yi Guqin around, he felt safe. We are only at the outermost area of the evil wind demon valley. There is not much danger. The real test has yet to come, Yi Guqin said calmly. He also knew that the chilling wind that could transform his divine dwellings should be in the deepest part of the Yin Wind Devil Valley. After that, Yi Guqin and the other 2 walked into a cave. A group of Yin demon gods charged forward. These Yin demon gods wore all kinds of armor and helmets, but their insides were empty. There was only a ball of pitch-black fog. This was the most ordinary Yin demon god. Yi Guqin and the others killed him in a few moves. As for the demon soul crystals, Yi Guqin did not take them. Instead, he gave them to Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui. In the depths of the Yin Wind Devil Valley, there should be greater opportunities. Therefore, Yi Guqin was not interested in these demon soul crystals. They continued to head deeper into the Yin Wind Devil Valley. Not long after, the sound of fighting suddenly came from the front. Yi Guqin indicated for Bai Mingxing, and Shimen Fugui to conceal their auras. They sneaked over and saw a group of Dark World elites fighting a tough battle with a group of Yin demon gods. These Yin demon gods were different from the ordinary Yin demon gods. The mist within their armor was a blood-red color. They seemed to be elite Yin demon gods, Shimen Fugui said, blinking his beady eyes. Elite Yin demon gods were far stronger than ordinary Yin demon gods. Ordinary 6th-level divine dwelling heaven prides could not fight against them alone. And now, a group of Dark World heaven prides was fighting against elite Yin demon gods. The reason for the battle was that there was a mountain of demon soul crystals in the depths of the cave. There were not just 1 or 2 crystals, but thousands of them. This was definitely an incomparably rich opportunity. It was no wonder that the Dark World heaven prides could not help but take action. Let's take action too. Bai Mingxing, looked at the mountain of demon soul crystals with a fiery look in her eyes. With these demon soul crystals, they would have a greater chance of breaking through to the Heavenly Palace Supremacy Realm. Wait. Yi Guqin pressed Bai Mingxing's shoulder, who was about to take action. With Yi Guqin pressing her shoulder, Bai Mingxing blushed and said, "What's wrong? Can we still deal with these Dark World heaven prides?" "Yes," Yi Guqin said. Don't forget, his divine soul perception was extremely sharp. As expected, when the Dark World heaven prides were about to be killed by the elite Yin demon gods, 3 figures suddenly appeared. All of a sudden, 3 figures flashed out and rushed toward the pile of demon soul crystals. The elite Yin demon gods quickly reacted and gave up attacking the remaining Dark World heaven prides. Instead, it blasted towards the 3 figures. The 3 figures were Bloody Butcher, Lu Piao, and Ghost Monk. As one of the 13 tycoons, they were naturally stronger than the ordinary Dark World heaven prides. But they had no intention of saving the Dark World heaven prides. Instead, they dashed toward the demon soul crystals. Roar! The elite Yin demon gods roared angrily. They held giant hammers, battle swords, spears, and other weapons in their hands as they surrounded Bloody Butcher and the other 2. This is troublesome. Seeing this, Bloody Butcher took out a blood-red scimitar and slashed. A blood-red blade aura shot out and slashed toward an elite Yin demon god. Lu Piao reached out with one hand with a lancet flying dagger between her fingers. With a shake of her wrist, the lancet flying dagger tore through the air with great force. It pierced through an elite Yin demon god. The last one was Ghost Monk. He had a strong body and a bald head. There was a scar on his face, and he looked fierce. He did not look like a monk but more like a butcher. He did not have any weapons. He just struck with his palm. The blood-red great Vajra palm print shot through the air and blasted toward an elite Een demon god. The 313 tycoons were engaged in a fierce battle with the elite Een demon gods. I didn't expect someone to be hiding behind us, Bai Mingxing mumbled. She was also puzzled as to why Yi Guqin's soul perception was so strong. However, this was Yi Guqin's secret, and it was not her place to pry. Are we going to be the mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind us? Shimin Fugui said. He loved to play dirty tricks like this. Yi Guqin was about to speak when he suddenly saw something. Lu Piao and Ghost Monk blocked the attack of the elite Een demon gods. As for Bloody Butcher, he dashed toward the pile of demon soul crystals. Looks like they are not that stupid. Let's do it, Yi Guqin said with a sneer. He had the same thoughts as Shimin Fugui. After all, what was so bad about saving some energy? However, the three of them had communicated beforehand and cooperated with each other. Yi Guqin had no choice but to attack. Haha, these demon soul crystals are all mine. Bloody Butcher was pleased with himself. Previously, the three of them had indeed discussed this. Lu Piao and Ghost Monk would block the elite Een demon gods while he went to retrieve the demon soul crystals. However, it was impossible for Bloody Butcher to be so obedient and harbor evil intentions. Moreover, he believed that Lu Piao and Ghost Monk did not completely trust him. However, no matter what, the most important thing was to get the resources first. Just as Bloody Butcher was about to put the pile of demon soul crystals into his origin ring, a sword gleam suddenly pierced through the air. Who is it? Bloody Butcher roared, and a murderous aura surged in his eyes. Who had the guts to target the 13 tycoons? You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.